It's 7 o'clock, and I will begin the meeting by calling for nominations for Chair of the Council for the municipal year 2018-19, please. I have a nomination for Councillor Blundell. Any other nominations from the floor? Can I call Councillor John Rathbone? You certainly can.
He knows more about the Constitution than anybody.
Nomination for Councillors Blundell and Rathbone. Do I have a second for Councillor Blundell? Do we have a second for Councillor Rathbone, please? Thank you. We'll take a vote. So, can I have a show of hands, please, for those in favour of Councillor Blundell? Can I have a show of hands for those in favour of Councillor Rathbone? That's 8. So,
You're not allowing us to defer the vote then, Chair.
So, if you'd like to call the duly elected Chair.
Please be seated. Second item on the agenda, appointment of Vice Chair of the Council for 2018-2019. Do we have any nominations? Councillor Bob Brady, do we have a seconder? Thank you. Any further nominations? Can we agree Bob Brady as Vice Chair of the Council? Thank you. Agenda item 3, apologies for absence. Do we have any?
We do, Chair. We have apologies from Councillors Dean, Dryden, McIntyre, Charles Rooney, Thompson and Jacob Young.
Okay, Councillor Hubbard. Can we note those? Thank you. Agenda item 4, declarations of interest. Has anybody got any? Agenda item 5, minutes of the previous council meeting on the 28th of March 2018. Can we agree those? Thank you. Agenda item 6, announcements, communications. I have just one announcement for this meeting. It is with great sadness that I have to announce that Malcolm Pritchard, JP, former councillor and mayor of Middlesbrough, passed away peacefully on the 1st of May 2018. Malcolm was married to Jackie, and together they have 2 children, Julie and Trevor. Malcolm was born in Castleford, near Leeds. On leaving school, he served his apprenticeship as a fitter with West Riding Automobile Company and worked there until 1967, including a break for military service. In 1967, Malcolm came to Middlesbrough and started work in the transport department at ICI Wilton. Malcolm was a councillor for the Berwick Hills ward from 1979 to 1987, and he was the 124th mayor of Middlesbrough. Malcolm was appointed as a Justice of the Peace in 1985. Malcolm's sporting interests included golf, cricket and rugby league, and he was also a professional rugby league player for 9 years. Malcolm was selected as a substitute for England in 1966. Would all present please join me in a minute's silence in memory of Malcolm? Thank you. Thank you. Agenda item 7, report of the independent panel on members' remuneration. Mr. Roberts.
Thank you, Chair. Members have before them the 4-year full review of allowances and SRAs conducted by the independent panel in the months of March and April. Having considered neighbouring and similar authorities, the committee recommended that the basic allowance be raised over a period of 4 years from the current £6,378 to a final figure in 2021-22 of £8,184, plus parity with any staff pay awards, with the figure for this financial year being £6,830. The committee also recommended that over the same period the rate of SRA should be reduced by 14% without parity with staff pay awards, and that the current multiplier system should be suspended for that 4-year period but reviewed after 2 years. The report is presented for members' consideration and determination, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. Mayor Budd.
I'll talk about items 7 and 8 together, if I may. This is never an easy subject for any of us, I don't think. And I'd like to thank the panel for their thoughtful recommendations. Personally, I agree with the panel that the basic allowance is too low. However, the total amount spent on members' allowances, in my view, should not increase. The sensible suggestion of phasing over 4 years is attractive. But again, I think that's really a decision for the council that follows us next year. That council may well look different, it may well have a different structure. So I believe that the new council should ask the panel to have a full review and make a recommendation for the 4 years of that council. Now, we can't hold them to that, but I think that would be a sensible thing for us to suggest in advance. Therefore, I'd like to propose that we take no action to implement the proposals at the present time. We'll leave the schemes as allowance as they are for this year and suggest to the new council next year that a full review which takes account of all of the 4 years of that council takes place. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Mayor Budd. Do we have a seconder for that? Thank you. Okay, all those in favour, please show. Okay, if there's a request for recorded vote, we will have a recorded vote.
Yeah, we will need the requisite number, Chair.
What does that mean?
It means that we need a quarter of the council, which means we need, I believe, 13 votes.
Oh, okay, thank you very much. In order for it to be recorded vote, 25% of the council need to agree to it, to a recorded vote. So can we have a show of hands of...
A seconder for the motion.
Okay, we need... So we've had it moved for recorded vote. Can we have a seconder, please? Thank you. All those in favour of recorded vote, please show.
I think that's 9, Chair. I think, yeah.
Okay, 9 votes. Unfortunately, that's not doesn't meet the sufficient required number, so we'll just go to a straightforward show of hands. All those in favour, please show. All those against?
That's 5, Chair.
Okay, that is carried. Okay, right. Agenda item 8, members' scheme of allowances.
Thank you, Chair. In view of the vote that's just taken place, the scheme of allowances that members have had circulated to them will, of course, need to be recalculated. I would therefore propose that it be done in line with the principles set out within that report, and we will circulate the version by email if that's acceptable to members.
Okay, can we agree that? Thank you. Agenda item 9, political balance allocation of places on committees 2018-2019. Mr. Roberts.
Yes, Chair. Again, this is just the usual format for the allocation of places on committees carried out in light of an objection to the waiving of political balance. So based on the calculation methods in the report, the places are allocated as set out at the rear of that document, in particularly table 4. It's there for members to approve, Chair.
Okay, any questions, comments? Can we agree the recommendations? Thank you. Agenda item 10, executive scheme of delegation. Mayor Budd.
This is an unusual format. I don't think there are any substantial changes from previous years, and I hope it can be agreed.
Thank you, Mayor Budd. Any questions, comments? Okay, can we note the report? Thank you. Agenda item 11, Council Committees, Establishment, Terms of Reference, Allocation of Places and Membership, 2018-2019. Mr. Roberts.
Thank you, Chair. We have a number of vacancies remaining on various of these committees, so with the Council's indulgence, I shall go through them one by one and seek nominations and votes as necessary.
Okay.
So first of all, we have a vacancy on the Better Health Programme Joint Committee. Do we have any nominations for that? No, we will leave that one in abeyance then, Chair.
Okay.
Next committee is the Cleveland Police and Crime Panel. We have one vacancy. We have two nominations at present. We have a nomination for Councillor Cooper and we have a nomination for Councillor Davison. So are there any further nominations from the floor, or do we want to vote on the current nominations?
Any further nominations? Okay.
So it's just a show of hands.
Okay. And
Councillor Cooper and Councillor Davison. So in favour of Councillor Cooper first, please.
all those in favour of Councillor Cooper, please show.
Four, Chair.
All those in favour of Councillor Davison, please show. Okay, Councillor Davison elected.
Next is the Cleveland Show Society. There are two vacancies there. We have four nominations in this case. Councillor Branson, Councillor Davison, Councillor McGloin and Councillor Jeanette Walker. Again, are there any further nominations? Or do we...
Okay, first question, are there any further nominations? Can all four Sorry, what? Okay, can all four candidates indicate that they wish to be considered for selection? Okay. Right, so there's four nominations. Everybody has 2 votes. Is that understood? You've got 2 votes only. So first person is...
Councillor Branson, Chair.
Councillor Branson. All those in favour of Councillor Branson, please show.
That's 26, Chair. Next is Councillor Davison.
All those in favour of Councillor Davison, please show.
Next is Councillor McGloin.
All those in favour of Councillor McGloin, please show.
Once again, 3, Chair. And Councillor Jeanette Walker, finally.
All those in favour of Councillor Jeanette Walker, please show.
Chair. So that's Councillor Branson and Councillor Jeanette Walker.
Okay, the 2 people elected there, Councillor Branson and Councillor Jeanette Walker.
Then we have, again, 2 vacancies on the Captain Cook Birthplace Trust. We have 4 nominations standing. Councillor Branson, Councillor Davison, Councillor Higgins and Councillor Morstan.
Okay, same principle. Any further nominations? Does everybody there wish to stand? Okay, same principle. Everybody has 2 votes. First person?
Councillor Branson.
Councillor Branson. All those in favour of Councillor Branson, please show.
33, Chair.
33 votes. All those in favour of Councillor
Davison next.
Davison, please show.
7, Chair.
I think it's 8.
Yeah. 8, Chair.
All those in favour of Councillor Higgins, please show. 24 votes. And finally, all those in favour of Councillor Morstan, please show.
That's 3, Chair.
Okay.
Councillors Branston and Higgins.
Councillors Branson and Higgins elected.
We then have the 2 vacancies on the Corporate Parenting Board. These are non-Labour vacancies. We have 1 nomination so far, which is Councillor McGloin. So are there any further nominations on the floor?
Any further nominations? Okay, can we accept Councillor McGloin elected? And there will be 1 further nomination we'll hold in abeyance. Yeah.
Finally, we have the Nunthorpe and Martin Plainfields Association Management Committee. There are 2 vacancies there for ward members only. We have nominations for Councillor Morstan and McGloin so far. Are there any other of the Martin or Nunthorpe members who wish to be nominated?
Okay, we have 2 nominations then, 2 vacancies. Can we agree both those people nominated? Thank you.
That's that, Chair. Done, thank you, Chair.
Is that number 11?
That's item 11, Councillor.
Okay. Right, moving on. Agenda item 12. Appointments by the Council and Executive to joint committees and outside bodies 2018-2019. Mr. Roberts.
Sorry, me again, Chair. Okay, so same process. We now move to the ad hoc scrutiny panel. We have 1 vacancy and we have 1 nomination from Councillor McGloin. So are there any other nominations, Chair?
Any other nominations? Can we agree, Councillor McGloin? Thank you.
Chair. We have 1 vacancy on the Children and Young Persons Learning Scrutiny Panel. This is initially reserved to the MICA group. So if there's a nomination from the group, then that would automatically go forwards. Failing that, it's then open to the remainder of the council.
Okay, do we have a nomination from the MICA group? Councillor Hubbard, thank you.
Next, we have the Children and Young Persons Social Care and Services Scrutiny Panel. Again, this is a one vacancy which is initially reserved to MICA.
Okay, Mika, would you like to take up this position? Okay, thank you.
Then we have the Corporate Health and Safety Committee. Again, there's a 1 MICA vacancy.
Corporate Health and Safety, Mika, would you be interested in taking up that position? Yep.
The Culture and Community Scrutiny Panel. Again, a MICA vacancy.
Culture and Scrutiny. Thank you.
On that, please note that from the information that's already been circulated, Councillor Udin is replacing Councillor Halawi on that committee.
Okay, can we note that?
We then have a MICA vacancy on the Health Scrutiny Panel.
Health Scrutiny Panel, would anyone from Mika like to take up that position? No. Okay, that's now open to the floor. Anybody, do we have any nominations, Mr. Roberts? No, no. Okay, nominate. Councillor McGloin, yeah. Can we agree, Councillor McGloin? Thank you.
Thank you. Again, Chair, members to note that Councillor Halawi will be replacing Councillor Goodchild on that committee from the papers that are currently circulated. We then have a licensing committee. There are 4 vacancies. 3 of those are allocated to Labour, and we now have Labour nominations for Councillors Blythe, Dryden and Hussain. That leaves 1 independent vacancy for the independent members to put themselves forward for, and again, if it's not taken, then it becomes open to anyone.
Okay, do the independent... Yep. Councillor Morstan? You're already on it, Councillor, yeah.
No, you can't.
No, it's an either or on that one, Councillor. Okay.
We'll hold that one in there.
We'll hold. Do you want to take from anyone else from the floor? Oh, I've got the 3 live ones. Okay, so there'll be one vacancy on licensing that will be held in abeyance.
Yes, Chair. Staff Appeals Committee, we have one vacancy for an independent.
Staff Appeals, anybody interested? Councillor Morstan? Thank you. Can we agree that? Yeah.
We have a vacancy on the Teesside Pension Fund. Again, this is an independent one. Councillor McTighe has indicated she no longer wants to take the place up. So, again, it's independent nominations first.
Okay, any independent member wish to take this position?
Councillor Davison.
Councillor Davison, right, okay. Can we agree that? Thank you.
There are 2 vacancies on the Works Council, one allocated to Mika and one allocated to an independent.
Okay, 2 on the Works Council. First one to the Mika group. Anybody there? Yourself, Councillor? Yeah. Councillor Rathmel. And 1 independent position. Councillor McGoyne? Okay, thank you. Can we agree those? Thank you.
Then we have the Casino Licensing Subcommittee. There are 2 vacancies there. They have to be members of Licensing Committee. We have 2 nominations from Councillors Higgins and Lewis, but obviously we didn't want to hold that until there were any further nominations. Since that place on licensing remains empty, we then just have 2 standing nominations, Chair.
Okay, can we agree the 2 nominations? Thank you.
And finally, substitutes for licensing subcommittee, Casino Licensing Subcommittee. Again, we have 3 nominations for the 3 vacancies. So, if members are comfortable to move to the vote.
Okay, who are the 3?
We have Councillors Biswas, Goodchild and Harvey.
Okay, can we agree that? Thank you. Moving on, agenda item 13, update of the Constitution. Mr. Roberts.
Thank you, Chair. Members have in front of them a report which covers 4 separate matters in relation to the Constitution: the financial procedure rules, standards matters, the member officer protocol, and the council procedure rules. In relation to the financial procedure rules, there's a proposed change to the capital schemes key decision limit, which is currently £100,000, to bring it in line with all other key decision limits of £150,000. In relation to the Code of Conduct procedures, there have been some changes proposed which particularly relate to a timetable for dealing with complaints, tests for accepting a complaint, details of member involvement and information, codification of informal resolution options, a non-comprehensive list of possible sanctions, and a refreshed complaint form. In relation to the member officer protocol, there's a new section 20 there which deals with the consequences of a breach of that protocol by either members or officers, and it also clarifies in section 13 the scope for political assistant roles in group publicity. And finally, in relation to the council procedure rules, there's some clarification for the timing of extraordinary council meetings, Chair.
Can we agree those? Thank you. Yes, sorry, Councillor.
Regards to Appendix 2 of the report, paragraph 1.1, it refers to the Data Protection Act and the Equalities Act for the investigating officer. Just forgive me if I think we're an efficient authority, but perhaps with the GDPR coming in force on the 25th, you could update and defer the report until that date, until you've actually included it in there.
The Data Protection Act is in force.
The Chair has no idea what
The
you're
Data
talking
Protection
about.
Bill is currently working its way through Parliament. That would be a legislative change for which I have delegated authority to amend the procedure.
So we're okay to do it now, and then it'll just be amended when the law changes. Is that okay? Can we agree that? Thank you. Agenda item 14, change of dates to council meetings. Mr. Roberts.
Again, this is a fairly self-explanatory report, Chair. There are 3 dates for council meetings which are being amended. So the date in June has been moved from the 27th to the 20th. The date in July has been moved from the 25th to the 18th. and the date in October has been moved from the 10th to the 17th. There's also a change in the Teesside Pension Fund Committee date from the 20th of June to the 27th of June. And again, members will be asked to note.
Okay, can we note those date changes? Thank you. Agenda item 15, South Tees Health and Wellbeing Board. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Chair. I think members will be aware we've been moving towards this this situation for quite some time now. Both Middlesbrough and Redcar and Cleveland Health and Wellbeing Boards have been working together to develop a system whereby we can move to a single Health and Wellbeing Board. There are some compelling reasons for this, which are set out in the report, not least of which is that we're working together already in terms of public health. We have the health geography, which effectively joins us together anyway. So that we set out the proposed governance arrangements, which I think will go through both councils, and we'd just like to ask for agreement that we can set up this single Health and Wellbeing Board, which I think will help both areas move forward. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mayor. Any questions, comments? Can we approve the report? Thank you. Agenda item 16, Mayor's Annual Statement. Mayor Budd.
Hi, thank you, Chair. On the 27th of March, I was really pleased to attend a formal handover of the Town Hall back to the Council from Kia, the contractors, following completion of the £8 million restoration project. If anybody here hasn't had the chance to have a look around the fully restored area, the courtroom, the cells, the exhibition space and the fire station, I would urge you to do so. We've already had a number of events in there which have gone very well. We've had the place full of young people, which was delightful, including the quadrangle, which, although it looked a little bit like a public school playground, was very well used, and I think we want to use that quadrangle in future for outside events as well. In addition to this, the Town Hall has been designated a national portfolio organisation by Arts Council England, and this means not just an extra $249,000 a year for 4 years to support programmes, events and artistic projects, but really puts the Town Hall on a national map as far as the Arts Council is concerned. Later this month, to celebrate its reopening, the Town Hall will be a venue for an incredible performance using 100 local people called Erimus. It will celebrate the future of Middlesbrough Town Hall and exploring what it means to be from Middlesbrough, celebrating Middlesbrough's rich cultural identity and how the Town Hall acts as a beacon within that cultural landscape. It will highlight the history of the building and lead audiences into previously unknown spaces. Again, I want to encourage everyone to go along to one of those performances. It's worth perhaps spending a moment to think about what this building meant to our forebears. It towered above the rest of Middlesbrough. It was the tallest and biggest building in the town. It was a symbol of a town which was asserting itself, and a town which was inventing itself and creating an identity to the world. And we are still reinventing ourselves. So the Town Hall reopens its doors to a Middlesbrough which is reinventing itself. The restored building is a symbol for Middlesbrough, redefining itself as the city at the centre of a city region. No apologies for using the C word again. Middlesbrough deserves city-scale venues like the Town Hall. Another such venue, we hope, will be the Snow Centre, which is coming ever closer to fruition and will be a huge boost to our area. The plans to build much-needed Grade A offices around the edge of Centre Square will also strengthen our city centre. Key planks of our investment prospectus, launched not much more than a year ago, have been delivered by an innovative and forward-thinking Labour Council. In future years, some members of the opposition can stand in Centre Square, maybe attending a fantastic cultural event, maybe watching Middlesbrough people heading into work in the businesses attracted to the offices facing the square. They can look as people enjoy the world-famous Mima, or people checking in and out of the Holiday Inn. And at that moment, they can think to themselves, we opposed all of this. Some scoffed at our investment prospectus, but already it's delivering jobs for local people, strengthening our local economy and providing the revenue that will support vital services in the future. As at the end of this March, our investment prospectus has created 680 new jobs and brought £116 million of investment into Middlesbrough, a record of which we should be extremely proud. I'd like to thank our staff for delivering not only this, but all of the services that people in Middlesbrough rely on. And as it's History Month, here's a bit of history. When Middlesbrough's new council chamber was used for the very first time in 1887, the Gazette was on hand, as they always are, reporting that the chamber was, quote, one of the handsomest, not in the north of England, but in the United Kingdom. Their reporter wrote detailed descriptions of moulded oak canopies and Utrecht velvet. The Gazette was not entirely pleased, however, also saying that, quote, there is one characteristic omission, no accommodation whatever having been provided for the representatives of the press, whose labours at the council chamber are probably as arduous and as exacting as those of any section of the gentlemen for whose reception the room is designed. There may be some here who would agree with that still. But then as now, the democratic process that goes on in this building relies on the freedom, accuracy and objectivity of the press. And sadly, we've seen time and again how important that role is in an era of fake news. I think it's worth us all reflecting for a moment on this chamber and the figures that have sat here in these chairs over the last 130 years. Figures like Hugh Bell, suffragettes Alice Schofield Coates, Marion Coates Hanson, and more recently, Ashok Kumar, Hazel Pearson, Bernie Taylor, amongst many, many others. And I think it's incumbent of us all to remember the footsteps of those we follow in and to conduct our business appropriately with respect and without the tendency towards pantomime, which we've occasionally seen. It's of course worth remembering that when the Gazette referred to the gentleman, they meant just that. This year has seen the 100-year anniversary of some women receiving the vote, and since then we have made great strides in the fight for equality, but there is still much more to do. I'm really pleased that Middlesbrough has been leading the way on key equality issues, such as fighting period poverty, led by people in this chamber. That's had a huge impact on the well-being and opportunities available to women living in Middlesbrough and elsewhere. It's a national disgrace that women in 2018 are left struggling to afford basic necessities such as sanitary products. The Council continues to promote equality and celebrate diversity. The bottle of notes has been lit up to mark World AIDS Day and International Women's Day. We obtained funding to increase community cohesion in our communities, support the mailer and work to tackle hate crime by delivering awareness and reporting training across Middlesbrough. And I'm proud to say that Middlesbrough Council, under Labour control, is committed to tackling poverty and the limits it places on citizens' lives. Many young people in our borough rely on nutritious school dinners provided in our schools, but struggle during holidays. That's why our holiday hunger scheme saw almost 600 children receive a healthy family lunch over summer holidays, with 250 parents eating a healthy lunch with their children. The scheme also saw cookery demonstrations, toothbrushing packs, and trips out to the North Yorkshire moors and physical activity sessions. In July last year, I opened the Livewell Centre in Dundas House. The centre brings together public health and support services of all kinds into one central hub to encourage people to live healthier lives. Every year, we hear of the huge life expectancy gap between our most wealthy residents and our poorest. With the incredible work going on at the Livewell Centre, I'm hopeful we will eventually see this gap narrowing. Our landlord licensing scheme has been incredibly successful in beginning to tackle the scourge of rogue landlords in North Ormsby. With 90% of the properties licensed and a string of landmark convictions for those who refuse, we've seen the first steps to driving up standards. Revenue raise has been used to provide early help to residents who need it and give people the support they need before they reach crisis point. I'm proud of our record here in Middlesbrough, but I am, however, ashamed that we're still discussing issues that should have been left in the Victorian era. Harsh cuts to public services and the cruel changes to benefit systems have consequences for people's lives here in Middlesbrough. Over the coming year, we have a lot to look forward to. 10 years older than the Town Hall, our train station is a key gateway to Middlesbrough, but it suffered from many years of underinvestment. As a council, we have pushed hard for some time to see our railway station restored and brought up to date. £3 million has already been spent on restoring part of the building to its former glory. Now the council has presented a master plan, which I'm sure you will have seen, which will see a new frontage and extra platform added to ensure our station is ready for the direct link to London. We're also, as I mentioned before, drawing up a social regeneration strategy, because shiny buildings and new jobs are great, but local people need to be quick to get those jobs and local communities need to be empowered. Our officers are currently engaging with community groups of all kinds, equipping them to lead community conversations so we can hear from local people what they value about living in Middlesbrough and how they want their communities to feel. If we want to engage and empower people, we need to first listen to what they've got to say. A key manifesto pledge of mine was the opening of a community bank. Fair access to credit is a huge issue for many people, not just in Middlesbrough. It's the fact that borrowing money is an expensive business when you're economically deprived. When a fridge or a cooker packs in, someone finds themselves out of work, the extortionate rates of interest offered by payday lenders and loan sharks is crippling. People in Middlesbrough need a place to access safe, affordable credit. But more than that, they deserve to be treated exactly as anyone else would when entering a bank. We need a modern community bank in our city centre, and that is exactly what we're going to deliver. It has taken a long time to get to this point. However, I'm pleased to say that the process of finding an operator is continuing on time. We will be looking to seeing our community bank open its doors later this year. So this year has demonstrated that there's a lot to celebrate in our past, but we are all here to ensure that the future we create for Middlesbrough is ambitious, that it is inclusive, and that it is caring. And I look forward to seeing what we can achieve over the next 12 months. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mayor Budd. That concludes the AGM for this year. I will now bring that meeting to a close. But as you are all aware, we do have 2 extraordinary council meetings. So I'll now move on straight away to the first, for the first one, which is, so agenda item 1, apologies for absence. Do we have any apologies?
Take those as read from the previous meeting, Chair.
Thank you. Any declarations of interest? Right, I'll now invite Councillor Hobson, who called this meeting, to discuss the demolition and relocation of Middlesbrough bus station. Councillor Hobson.
The bus station, situated in Middlesbrough Town Centre, was opened in 1982 at a cost of £5.3 million. In July 2012, the bus station underwent improvement work at a cost of £1.5 million. The work was undertaken to improve the accessibility for disabled people by creating low-floor access at the majority of stops, as well as reconstruction of the concourse and part reconstruction of the ramps. Since 2012, various works have been carried out as follows. Refurbishment of the Express Lounge, £25,307. Toilet refurbishment, redesigned to modern standards and to reduce significant antisocial behaviour problems, £95,000. Toilet turnstiles and change machines, £26,000. LCD main lighting scheme, £62,212.50. Total cost of work to the security door system was £272,897. After all this work, we then want to demolish it in order to accommodate a media village. I would like to think we could look for a different site for the media village. A suggestion would be close to the Boho sites. As we all know, our bus station has gained 2 certificates over the last 2 years. one for being the best bus station in the northeast and one for being the safest bus station. In an announcement today, the Mayor has now pledged that the bus station will remain on the same site. Why then demolish it? Why would we think about demolishing this bus station to rebuild it at a great cost to the taxpayer? Just because someone comes along and says we would like to take this piece of land to build a media village does not mean we should accept this or even consider it. Our consideration should be to the residents. The shops in the bus station are all doing a good business. What will happen to them? There are 37,000 users per day. Do we have no consideration for all these people? I will now open this for debate. Thank you.
Mayor Budd.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Hobson has said, I think, one of the things that I was going to say. She has said that we are not moving the bus station many miles, which has been a rumour which has been put around by some people in this chamber. That has never been the case. From the beginning of our discussions about the Teesside Media and Innovation Village, TMIV, we've been clear that a new bus station would have to be part of that development. I've stated that on many occasions, including in this chamber, and it's unfortunate that rumour and fake news have clouded that. So let me just go through it again. The only site under discussion for a new bus station is on the existing site. The bus station, opened in 1982 or 3, is getting on a bit. It is not a modern design in any sense. Now, we've got to be ambitious. That's something that I hope you've heard from me and others for quite some time. TMIV is a number of different things. It'll be a part of our city centre. It's opportunities about jobs, education, leisure, culture, and a new bus station. So alongside this, there's a great deal of work to do improving on public transport, around routes, timings, facilities. It is more important that we get buses going to where we want, when we want, than anything else. And I think that's something we should all be able to join together, because the problem with public transport is not really a bus station or even a rail station. It's about coordination of buses and rail, and it's about modern facilities, modern buses, modern trains, all linked together. So the horror that some people have decided about building a new bus station is really only part of a whole range of public transport issues which we need to address. So, as I've said over and over again, we are not moving the bus station out of the town centre, out of the city centre, to one of the many places that I hear rumours about still. So, if anything, just let's draw a line under that. A new bus station will be very close to where the one which is at the moment, but it will take up less room. If you look at the footprint of the bus station at the moment, it is enormous, and there's an opportunity there to have other things as well as a bus station. So that's where we are at the moment.
Thank you, Mayor Budd. Councillor Brunson-Dobson. Thank you, Councillor. Do we have a seconder for that? No, right. You straight the vote. Straight the vote. Yeah. Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we move to next business. All those in favour, please show. Excuse me, can we have some order, please, in the public gallery? You know what we do in this council chamber. We do not allow rowdy behaviour, and we do not appreciate shouting out. So please, can you show a bit of respect? There is a vote taking place, so I ask you, please, to be quiet. It's been moved. Right, it's been moved, it's been seconded. All those in favour, please show. All those against moving to next business? Okay, 25-9. That is passed. That being the conclusion of all business,
Chair,
I'll bring this extraordinary meeting to a close.
Chair,
Thank you.
can I ask a question, please? Can I bring it to a close? Because as I opened it, I think I have a right to close it.
It's not a debate, Councillor.
It was a debate.
It was an extraordinary
that is
general...
what it was here.
Excuse me.
A debate.
I'm not going to get into an argument with you, Councillor. I'm sorry. This is an extraordinary general meeting of the Council. You were only given the opportunity to speak to it because you were the first person whose name was on the list to call the meeting. You said your bit, it was responded to by the Mayor, and then other members followed the line that they've followed. I'm sorry, that is it. It's not a debate. There's no summing up. The decision, we've had the vote, and the vote's been carried.
Disgraceful.
I bring this meeting to a close and move on to the next extraordinary general meeting. Okay, moving on. First item on the agenda. Apologies for absence.
Again, Chair, we'll take them as read from the previous meetings.
Okay, can we agree that? Agenda item 2, declarations of interest. Do we have any? Okay, agenda item 3, Mr. Roberts, I believe you want to say something before I bring... is it Mr. Rathmell? Yeah. Before I bring Councillor Rathmell in. Mr. Roberts.
Just an introductory remark. Members have also received with the papers a draft report which is scheduled to be presented to the Standards Committee on the 3rd of July of this year on the subject of DBS checks for councillors. It's provided here for members' assistance. Members will note that the recommendations of that report are that enhanced DBS checks should be carried out for qualifying members, and basic DBS checks should be carried out for all other members. Members are reminded that the nature of DBS checks and consequently any discussion around them may involve sensitive personal information about individuals. Such information would fall within paragraph 1 of Schedule 12A of the Local Government Act 1972 and would therefore normally precipitate a vote to exclude the press and public. Such information may also give rise to an action in defamation and or a complaint under the Data Protection Act. Members are therefore advised to confine any comments they may wish to make to the principles of DBS checks and to refrain from seeking to discuss anything which would identify an individual. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. Okay, Councillor Rathmell, I believe you were the lead person on this extra call, so I invite you to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts, for your clarification on that. I wasn't aware of a lead individual, but with regards to DBS checks, it's nice to see the council have produced a report. It's disturbing that it's taken since 2016 to encourage this and tease this out of the woodwork. The original response is, we don't do it and we won't do it. Now, I think our safeguarding duty as an authority requires that we should all undergo at least a basic DBS check, and certain exec members and key roles a full enhanced one. I don't know why it's been such a reluctant issue, even reading through the report. Yes, the legislation and guidance changed, but other authorities demonstrated more of a sense of urgency and have had measures in place to continue on from the changes. It just seems that we sit on our hands a bit longer. You may have seen in the press recently, a Humberside councillor, he was found in possession and guilty of possession and distribution of child pornographic images. Now we're in a position as an authority where we've had such a long gap since they were carried out. Can you imagine the horror in 6 months or 12 months' time if it ever hit the media that any elected member had been found guilty of, or the finger was pointed at them over a similar incident? Given the number of vulnerable people we come into contact with on a weekly basis, or those more active members within the community do, I think it's quite essential. I appreciate it doesn't apply to everyone, but I think a basic DBS check is something we should be all asking for. And why do we need to wait till July? We've had the report attached. It's here. You've all had a chance to read it if you've read it. So, I mean, the proposal here is to move that this is implemented immediately. Chair, I was going to go on forever, but I'm wondering if Councillor Dobson would like to move to close the meeting and go to a vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Walker.
Thank you, Chair. I find myself in the position of actually agreeing with with the quite a lot of principles of what Councillor Rathmell said. It's actually an issue that I've been working with officers for about a couple of years. And I certainly haven't been told at any point, no, we're not going to do it. There has been issues when the DBS was brought in that unfortunately councillors aren't named as one of the roles where you can just do a DBS check. And unlike what we were able to do previously with the CRBs, it's very much more difficult to have an enhanced policy without boring people. There was Cornwall Council came into difficulty when, with all the detail, Cornwall Council came into difficulty when in fact they attempted to do that very thing, Chair. I do think that all councillors should actually have an enhanced DBS check. I think we should be allowed to do that. Unfortunately, the way that the law is now, we can't. I actually think that all candidates for council should also have checks, even if it was just a standard one. The way that the law is now, we can't actually do that. I totally agree that we have a duty of care to the public. I personally, like many of my colleagues that I know do similar things, meet with some very vulnerable people and discuss financial and other very personal things on a regular basis. However, I've been through the government's website to see if I would qualify for one, and I can't find a way that I do under the rules that have been put in place. Sorry, for an enhanced one, not the basic one. So the other thing I would like to point out is where, and I'm sure a lot of members will be aware of this, is where members are in positions such as a school governor, that body itself carries out the DBS check, Chair. So where members are in regular contact with things like school children in through the role of school governor, then that check, and I know there's several councillors do have that check through that means. I know that officers quite properly looked into this in detail, given the experience of other councils such as Cornwall, and also wanted to check that we were doing the right thing with the relevant body and it was within those guidelines before putting this, and that is why there has been a delay. I think it's also been true to say that when it was first raised, I think by some members last year, we were in the middle, just preparing for elections. So whilst I agree with the sentiments and that we should have really the strongest test possible for all councillors. There is a report, and I understand that they're ready to go to the Standards Board in July. I understand that the people who called this meeting were made aware of that, and I think we should let that process continue because it's already well with it's not that long to July, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Brunton-Dobson. Thank you, Councillor. Do we have a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor. It's been moved and been seconded. We'll go to the vote. All those in favour, please show. Okay, all those against, please show. One. Okay, the vote that we move to next business has been moved. That being the it's been moved and it's been passed. That being the conclusion of all business, I'd like to bring this meeting to a close. Thank you for your attendance and wish you all a safe journey home. Good night.